Welcome to the Football Retro Podcast.
The word welcome, I guess, is stretching it a little when you're an Australian in a place like this today.
Hello and welcome to the Football Retro Podcast. I'm your host Johnny and this is episode 4. I am joined today by my co-host, a new one for the show, Fatty. How you doing, Fatty?
How you going, Johnny?
Good. Today is a special one. We've got a guest. We'll be talking a little bit about the NSL days. He was a player himself and we'll be comparing it to the current A-League. So I'm sure a lot of stories will come out of it. Can we welcome Karl? Hey Harry, how you doing?
Good evening, boys. How are we doing?
Good, thank you. Now, I was going to ask you, so obviously you played in the NSL in the late 90s, and I just asked you a question before we got started, and I thought you can share your answers to everyone. When was the last time you actually got interviewed by anyone?
The last one was with Johnny Warren when Marconi beat Melbourne Knights 2-1. I scored 2 goals in like 60 seconds, with one with the toe bash and one with the outside foot, and he was just, you know how he used to love Brazil? And
Yeah.
you go, oh, that's Brazil, how did you do that? You know, like, and yeah, it was my last one, I think.
So the last interview was Johnny Warren. I think we've got some big shoes to fill. He said. Holy fuck, what a start.
I wish I knew about this before you called me in.
Alright, for those of you who haven't heard of Harry, he was a player that came from Croatia, played a few years in the NSL, and we'll hear a little bit about his story today and what he was like back in those days. So Harry, back in Croatia, obviously during wartime, football was your escape. Tell us a little bit about that.
As a kid, I played in a small town called Rudeš, that throughout the history of then Yugoslavian football created a lot of players that representing Yugoslavia at the time. And at junior level, we would regularly beat Dinamo. And I'm talking about when Dinamo had Boban and all those other players. But then I ended up playing for Dinamo as a kid from 13 to 16. And then something went wrong with, and I think there was some kind of money needed to be given to the coach to, I don't know, to actually sign you up, to get an apprenticeship contract. And that's why my parents couldn't agree on what to do, what not to do. Mum wanted me to go to work. So yeah, I ended up going down and play. I had an offer to play for Hajduk, but when you love Dinamo, you don't play for Hajduk. If I knew that now, I wouldn't follow. But at the time, that was a great idea not to play for Hajduk. So I ended up playing in a smaller division, second, third division, that was owned by gangsters. Every club was owned by different gang group that was paying cash, so it was pretty good money-wise. But then the war started. I volunteered in the war, and
So just quickly, was it all completely voluntary, or there's conscription back in the day?
no,
you
it was
had
voluntary.
To sign.
We had no army, we had nothing. We just, you go because your house got attacked, so you stay, your friends stay with you. So it was like that. We still, even within every second you had, you kind of play football. But where I was lucky that closer to, that was the period where Mark Viduka signed for Dinamo Zagreb. Mm-hmm. And one of the reporters that used to live in my suburb, he thought it would be a good idea if he sends the video he had of me to Melbourne Knights, And I didn't even know that was happening. But then he got a response that, yes, they're interested to bring me and that they will sign me up, but I had to figure out my own way.
So, sorry, just because of Mark Viduka's presence in the Croatian league, that was your avenue to come to Australia, is that right?
That Australia exists, because when I used to play for juniors, Dinamo came and did the tour in here, and I think they actually lost to Australia at the time.
Okay.
And I remember a comment my coach made was that, he goes, I thought that they don't even have socks over there, that they play with kangaroos. That was what we thought of Australian football.
Yeah.
Like, non-existent. America and Canada was kind of a bit more known, but we never thought that Australia actually get paid to play football, let alone develop a player like Viduka, And then I got the letter, if I want to come, but like I said, I had to find my own way. So that letter was kind of like a job offer type of thing. And I don't know, just a luck. when I asked for working visa, I got a permanent residency, and I kind of stuck my bum here. I never really went back.
So by that stage, have you had played in the top league in Croatia or not yet?
As a kid, I played on the highest level. I represented Republic of Croatia at the time, couple of times, won a premiership with Dinamo many times. I played with Bišćan. Igor Jovicevic is the coach of Dinamo now. I used to mark. Back then I was a sweeper. I used to mark Bokšić. I was even selected. I can show you the photos when Croatia was going to the first European Cup. I was in 32. Later we're going to find out I wasn't picked because of a lot of disciplinary problems.
That's still prevalent.
But then again, in the attack, then you had Šuker and Bokšić and
So we're talking Euro 96?
Yes, the very first one,
Yeah, very first one for Croatia.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, so you landed in Australia. Did you know any English?
I knew a lot of words, but I would put them. I would sound like this. I would want to say that I will go and watch a movie, but I would say I will went to cinema. But let me tell you, the ladies loved it. Everyone wanted to be like mama to you, and teach you, will guide you, and it was less English I knew, more girls I picked up. That was before even I signed a contract. The major problem when I came here, where they staffed up Melbourne Knights, when they asked for my papers from over there, they wrote them they're a professional team. So the club over there started going, okay, we're going to get a lot of money. So they were asking for a lot of money. So Mirko Bazic, who was coach at the time, he goes, you either get your papers or we're not going to sign you. There's no money for us. So two builders, one was a builder, the other one was a painter, they bought my papers. So they were meant to be my managers. And the first club I actually played was St. Albans. My first game I scored 3 goals against Geelong, Croatia, with Didulica, and then the very next game I got suspended for 1 year.
Wait, so you're saying that your second game in Australia, your third game in Australia, you got suspended for 1 year?
No, my very second game. And the worst thing was because...
No, what's the story?
We need to know how you got suspended.
What's the story?
Yeah, this is what happened. After the first game and my 3 goals, everyone was going, oh, this is the next, Melbourne Knights player, all that stuff. So on the second game, we were playing Bentley Greens.
Yep.
Everything around was full.
This is the same Bentley Greens that have now had some FFA Cup success and has become known to all the fans in Australia.
Yeah. And I was getting smashed. So I kind of lost my cool, got a yellow card, got myself a red card. And the referee told me he's going to see me at the tribunal. And I didn't know how to swear, so I showed my penis to him. I said, I'll see him behind the shed.
So there's a bit of a language barrier, let's say.
Yeah, see, that was the thing. And
That's understandable.
And nobody cared.
So the tribunal gave you 12 months, or?
Yeah, they just didn't take easy on me at all. We tried to claim the language barrier, how do you call it? And I didn't have any other work. That was the only thing that was paying me. They just didn't care. I got 12 months.
So was it unpaid for 12 months? So you didn't have a contract?
Yeah, but see, what I didn't understand, I thought that it was just for Victoria and like a Premier League.
Yeah.
So Perth Glory was starting up. So I went to Perth, and that's where Bobby Despotovsky just came. And so I went for a trial, and everything was kind of fine. And I was trialing there, and I was supposed to play, I think they called Perth Croatia or something like that. And then they discovered when they were going, talking about papers, they go, well, what did you do, man? So when I told them, they go, you're not good for the new franchise. So I got asked to leave. So I had to go 12 months without football.
So what did you do for those 12 months?
I was supposed to work in a mining company in Perth, which didn't come true. And then I had a cleaning business for a year. But then when the letter came from actually, it was one of the players. His name was Ivan Chulina. He also played for Melbourne Knights after a little bit. He sent me a letter. He goes, come back, 12 months is up. We need you, So I've just packed my bags and I went back to Melbourne.
Nice. Okay.
So you got a lifeline. Threw you a lifeline after the 12 months.
And you know what? You're not going to believe it. I had a very good disciplinary record for like almost a year.
Bullshit.
I kid you not. They were
Almost a year. Almost.
So you 98-99 season, Melbourne Knights.
See, Melbourne Knights and we had I always wanted to play for him, of course. They had a good following.
They still do, yeah.
But you know what I found with Melbourne Knights? They were just ran like I don't know. I think some of the park soccer clubs are run better than Melbourne Knights. I mean, they got a massive money from Viduka, got stolen, I think, or something like that. Nothing was ever put to club.
It's a big claim.
Absolutely. Payments were always late. I remember Ransford Banini, we had to go pick him up from his bed while we on the airport already because he didn't want to go play because we didn't get paid for like 5 weeks. So he would turn up in pyjama. We all in the suits, he comes in pyjama and, he goes, you hired me, I think he came from Ghana or whatever after the Olympics or some World Cup or whatever it was. And he goes, I came here, I can't even get paid. So like there were situations like that where players didn't want to go to play because we were not getting paid. My contract was, I think I was only getting $500 to win. All right, and because you really want to play for Melbourne Knights, and we will push your career up, Harry. We know how people like you, so we'll push you up. And the next contract is the one you're playing for, yeah? Okay. And I had for every 5 goals, I was supposed to get $7,000. I scored 5 goals. The coach, who was Vid Horvat at the time, they told him he can't play me anymore.
Wow.
So they don't have to pay me my money.
So it became a financial, not a football decision.
So I went back to St. Albans. And you know what? That club, they were similar like Marconi towards me. Never late with money, always paid everything they want. Like what you agreed on, much better. Like for the things that Melbourne Knights could have done,
Yeah.
nothing.
So good club, badly run.
Very badly run. Very badly run. I don't know if that's lot to do with generation gap.
Yeah.
The new minds, they've got different ideas. The old ones, they feel like, I brought the bricks for these steps, we built the stadium. Because they own all that land that they've got there. So they always just used to, I remember at the time, always new credit, but they never really done nothing with it. They had great players, Spiteri and Zilic and, Viduka, Joe Di Delica was then.
It's interesting. He discussed that, how these clubs were poorly run because that was part of the reason why the A-League even came in, because they were talking about, aside from all the ethnic stuff that the A-League wanted to move away from and create these franchises, but a lot of the claims were also that these clubs weren't run properly or weren't managed. So it's interesting that he makes that point because it's sort of, I'm not an FFA supporter here, but it sort of gives credit to that theory that these clubs weren't well run and that's why they needed a whole different system or a different tier of football.
But Fadi, not all the clubs though. You had South Melbourne who were run very well, and how many players they produced for national team.
Yeah.
Marconi, when I signed up with Marconi, I thought I was at Real Madrid.
Well, let's talk about that now. So at Melbourne Knights, you had 14 games in total. So you started 10 games and scored 5 goals. So that's a pretty good...
I think I had 5 in 7, and I was coming off the bench. At the time, I was the top goal scorer. The second one was Cardozo, and then they wouldn't play me.
So after 5 goals, you left the season. How did you end up from Melbourne?
I went back to Melbourne to St. Albans.
Yep.
And again, I had a really good season. And then this Vid Horvat actually told me that Frank Farina was going to call me for a trial. But then Eddie Krinchevich got a job and he just signed me up. I never really trialed, and they just brought me here. And
So you got a call up, come to Marconi.
yeah,
You packed your bags.
well, absolutely. You don't
You're
say
in
no
Sydney.
to Marconi. Yeah.
So what did Marconi mean to the Australian football back in the year 2000?
Mate, honestly, that was the closest you could be to like European football. You know, facilities, unbelievable. Let's straight away start comparing to now. The clubs now don't have a training grounds like Marconi had then. I mean, through Eddie Krinchevich, who I don't rate as a coach. However, he was a great promoter. We had everything Nike. Like, whenever I wanted new boots, I was getting him. Plus Essex. Wages were always on time. There was never any muck around. Even if you needed something in advance, that they would look after their players. It was fantastic. We used to go to Perth 5 days earlier. You know, like, who does that? Like that's like Milan, you know. Like,
It's unheard of now in the A-League.
That's what I'm saying.
To travel 5 days early into
Melbourne to acclimatise, you know, have a training. You know, it was like we were envy of the clubs. You know, like I know when we played Melbourne Knights, when my friends came here, and they're like, especially the ones that were newer that signed up, they were like, "Shit, is this your club?" You know, or when we had sauna, masseurs on every training, 2 or 3 of them. Not just one. Stan Ivancic was one of them, you know. Youth setup, fantastic. And you know what that was? Because every local kid wanted to play for Marconi, regardless Italian or not. Marconi. Croatians, you had Sydney United. Sydney United, another, from what I know, poorly run club. A lot of players got away. Remember when they all went to Parramatta because they were not getting paid?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like Croatians have a problem with money.
Huh?
Sounds like Croatians have a problem with money management.
Yeah. You know. No, but what I'm trying to say, I don't think that necessarily FFA needed to destroy him. Because I believe that within every family, you know, it's that tribalism a little bit. So look, your club that you support in Argentina, Johnny.
Yeah.
Italian background. Yeah. Everywhere has something. So like in Croatia, Dinamo. Like my dad loved it, my granddad loved it, everyone loved Dinamo. So I love Dinamo. If I supported Hajduk, I would probably be kicked out of the house.
Yeah.
But you don't even question it. That's your tribe. That's your your city. Well, in Europe we supported everything that went with Zagreb, for example. In Split, same thing. Everything that goes with Split, they follow. Here they destroyed it. Like now the clubs, apart from Wanderers, everything else is so fake. Maybe Victory, but that's because they love their football. But you know, would you maybe get the same if South Melbourne comes in? Maybe Victory would suffer. You know, those I think they should have just fine-tuned it rather than destroy it. What I also like, every coach. So if you were a coach, you could express yourself. You play your vision. You know, you want 2 up front, 3 up front, 11 up front. It was your call.
You're talking about the NSL days?
NSL days.
Yeah.
Now, everything seems to me it all has to be the same. Coaches are training kids. This is how we want you to play. When I went through the system of Dinamo, we played in a junior level the way our first team played. Not the way, I don't know, Yugoslavia at the time or Croatia now plays. That was... You needed to be ready, so if I was sweeper at the time, if the sweeper in the senior team gets injured, I know what to do.
Yeah.
So those were the systems. And I would think that if, whatever, your senior team plays something, yes, juniors should know to play the same system. But not because Australia is going to play 5-5-1 with kicking the balls. Everyone has to do it. That's what I disagree. I think everything now is just so fake and very...
It's a very cookie cutter. One
they think
size
that,
fits
look,
all.
see how even NRL, for example, they think, oh, let's put this team, I don't know, in Townsville. Everyone's going to love it. Yeah. Man, I'm Shark Cronulla. What Cronola's got to do with, I don't know, Perth, for example. And that's how I think they do a lot. I mean, only idiot would think to put, in my opinion, the first club in Sydney where they put it. I mean...
In the city, yeah.
I mean, the Western Suburb was obvious choice. It had to be. I mean, I remember watching the first game when I went to watch Just for the record, my only Sydney FC game, I wanted to see Dwight York play. I mean, people were discussing what offside is. Season ticket holders. What's offside? Really, bro? How does that club now, premier club? That's what I understand.
So what you're talking about now is, in a culture sense, what the NSL had compared to what the A-League has.
I think it was a lot more loyalty. We had fans, like with Marconi. We had a couple of families that, like, no matter where we played, they were there. Yeah. I used to love, well, no, but when we lost. But after the game in that club, every single person knew you. If you talk to Francis when Warren Tiffy, when he played for Melbourne Knights, the old Crows used to come shake his hand with the money in a hand. Thank you. Mm-hmm. If he had a good game. He goes, I used to make more money like that than what I was getting paid. The people were a lot more involved. It was people's
clubs.
We had an episode, I'm not sure if that was ever published anywhere, but it was, I think it was ESPN, best clubs in the world. And Marconi was there, representing Australia. So we had to train and all that, play clever. But that's a big success, man. Wollongong, how good was that team? The whole area every kid wanted to play for them. Where do those kids want to play now? Central Coast, maybe? Or, what do they have? They've got nothing. I think with creating what they created, they destroyed the whole generation of players. Like you go look at now, unless you're playing in a youth system of any of those clubs, what are these kids are playing for? People playing in, I don't know, now Marconi or Sydney United, and maybe they get paid, all right? Mm-hmm. But what's the future? Yeah. How many of them get,
It just seems like there's no pathway. I mean, Johnny would know more about this being heavily involved with the youth setup in Marconi, but for someone like me who's outside of the setup, I'm very skeptical because, as Harry's saying, I don't see where that pathway is going to take them unless they're an absolute standout star. You're run-of-the-mill squad player that in Europe may make a squad and play for a lower ranking team in the highest league in that country. In Australia, it doesn't seem to make it. And as we're seeing now, especially in the A-League, all you see is just recycled. You're moving from club to club. There's nothing new coming in. Very, very few teams have a youth set up that you can be envious of or say, oh, wow, look at the youth coming through at this club. Very, very little. Not in the A-League anyway.
Well, it comes back as well to the argument of promotion relegation.
But look, you know what? First of all, I'm not sure if we've got the clubs that can, apart from maybe Marconi, maybe Melbourne Knights, because they'll always find the money through, something. And who else they can actually afford to travel interstate?
South Melbourne.
South Melbourne, maybe. I find that. I think the biggest thing where they stuffed up, when I would come to training, I would come like always maybe even an hour early, 2 hours early, and I would watch kids train. I'm sure Marconi still have a million kids there. But their dream was to play for that club in a national soccer league. Where the first thing that I noticed that I thought was absolutely ridiculous, the SBS at the time used to show, they would just turn up to the game with the cameras and this game is on TV today. Yeah, we all want to be on TV, but what did the club get? Especially if they say it before, hey, we're going to be on TV, if it's a bad weather, New South Wales crowds not going to go to the game. They're going to watch it on TV. So club never actually got any money from any outside source, but whatever sponsorship they had, if they had a gambling joint or something like that was the money. I'm not sure how much the FFA was helping at the time, and
Soccer Australia back then.
Yeah, there was different rumors that I don't know. Pretty much the same brothers are running everything, Australia was traveling always with Marconi Travel and all that stuff. Again, I don't want to say nothing against them because to me they were great, and I believe that every player that ever played for Marconi will tell you the same.
Yeah.
However, if you look at now, even if we have relegation in there, I just don't believe that maybe players that come up with the team that gets promoted might get noticed, but I just don't believe. I think they're so used to this, what Fadi was saying before, recycling, that we're getting players that are crap at one team and then they get resigned as a star for the other team, and then it's just equally crap again. then he gets another contract, 2-3 years. There's no reason. I don't know. There's no even reason for them to get any better. They're safe.
It's just it's more of a reputation thing now. So when a player comes to get signed, and you say, "Oh yeah, who am I signing? I'm signing X player." Oh yeah, well he's played at these 3 clubs already in the A League, so he's experienced. So yeah, he's not a star, but he's a good squad player. So let's sign him. And that just seems to be the case. How these players.
I
keep
thought
coming around.
when they started with this, if I was in power, my main thing would be push the youth. Talking about, for example, Beecham, these are Marconi kids, Alex Brosk. I mean, there could have been a few more from that team, easily, because these kids were destroying everything. They were that good. Mm-hmm. And so I'm glad that, for example, JP's got a job at Wanderers, because I appreciate him. Not that I used to love getting demoted, but like every time I was polished or whatever, I would play with, the youth. And I had a great experience. I thought they played beautiful brand of football, and it was so much fun, better than even what we had at seniors, you know. But they were creating something. You look at how many famous players we created before. And you know what? I thought that they're going to now, every club's going to come and buy the young players. When I was in China, there was Uruguay under 21. He was playing in China for $400 a week. Surely, if you signed him here, he plays Uruguay under 21. He could play in Australia for $400. Surely every club could afford him, and he would actually bring a quality. But like this, we're signing suspect, older players that sometimes perform, sometimes don't. We kill him with the system that we want him to play. Don't let him to be free. A la Saba, for example. I thought he never showed what he really could
Saba
do.
for Wanderers.
Nico. I thought that those players never actually had a chance to express themselves, because the system we play is just so very systematic and boring, and there's just nothing exciting about it.
Let me take you back to that first season of Marconi. So you've had 5 starts, 15 appearances in total, 3 goals. Talk to me a little bit about that season. What happened? How was the team? How did the team go?
Look, we had a great team. When I got there, my expectations were so high.
Yeah.
I thought this was it. Pre-season started, we played Newcastle. I scored a couple of goals. And then second game, Alex Tobin knocked my 6 teeth out with a nice elbow.
Okay, so Alex Tobin gave you a nice little elbow to the face and knocked a few teeth out.
Yeah, 6.
6 teeth?
Yeah, all front.
Was it a corner or was it a...
Nah, what it was just a ball in the air. I was just a bit cheeky to him prior to that, like tell him to retire and whatnot.
20 years ago, you were telling him to retire.
I thought he was old. It was my time, what happened was the ball was just, one of those high balls.
Yeah.
And I jumped too early and landed, and when you look up and you just see him, like, yeah, right. And the way he just jumped down, looked professionally 100%. You would never think it was. Look, maybe it wasn't deliberate. I believe it was, because he placed it so nicely like that. I went like this and just teeth everywhere, blood everywhere. Like it was brilliantly done. Didn't even get a free kick, mind you, but it was well done. I appreciate that type of work.
What did you do with your teeth?
I had to go. Marconi paid.
A dentist?
Marconi paid a dentist. Yeah.
Wow. So Alex, if you ever get a chance to listen to this, get in touch with us.
You owe me money for 60
let us know your side of the story.
And then I didn't play the very first game. There was another striker that they brought, Paolo Macesini. And mind you, Italian crowd actually liked me better than him. He was every challenge he was crying, falling on the floor. And Australia's not like that. Mm-hmm. You play a bit tougher. So I spent a bit of time on a bench. So I was always on. And you know what? To tell you the truth, I don't mind coming off the bench. Especially we were attacking a lot. So we had a great team. There was Francis was there, Maloney, Sean Babbage, Paul Babbage. What was the show that, what's his name went there, the goalkeeper? Turnbull?
Oh, Michael
Turnbull, yeah, he was actually a very good keeper.
Was he the Bachelor or the Bachelorette?
Yeah, some rubbish, yeah. But he was a good keeper though. Then Invincible was there. My Zano brothers, Zorich, great technician. So we had a great team. Buddy Farah, Chet Gibson. Gibson's brother came a year later. Then there was Alex Jurich. He went to later on represent Singapore. Great team. I just thought that Eddie kind of brought disharmony, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I'm sure players were babysitting his kids. He used to force me to tell him how great he was. I used to love Eddie back when he was playing for Dinamo. I don't know. We just didn't. I don't think we clicked, and I think a lot of it actually got. I don't know. Like I'm a player that I used to ask him, what am I doing wrong? Just let me. I want you to be hungrier. Well, I would play a game, score a goal, or score 2 goals. Next game, I'm on a bench or in a crowd giving me a rest. Like, or when I start a game, I would do 2 assists. I'm out because you didn't score a goal in the second half. Like, I just didn't, like, when you don't have a trust, so you don't want to make a mistake, so you rather just play safe.
Yeah.
Against Melbourne Knights, he put me on like 2 minutes, I think, to go. And I managed to score 2 goals.
So that was, I've got it here, 85th minute, you came on and scored 2 quick goals.
Yeah.
One from an impossible angle.
Yeah, that's why I rolled it in toe bash. That's what Johnny Warren was loving. Like, did you see the roll and the toe bash? That's indoor soccer. Yeah. But the very next game, we were playing Brisbane. He bloody left me, and we attacking. We were all over him, and we were supposed to play 2 games in a row, like one day on Sunday, and then we were playing on Wednesday. And he just wouldn't put me on. Like warming me up, and then he told me that I need to come on, like 2 minutes to go, and I said I can't, I was injured. So we kind of had this love-hate relationship, and then it came to boil. The second season, I wanted to go. There were offers, even in the paper, that I'll go to Newcastle or that I'll either go to Sydney United. Did I want to go? No. But would I go? Yes, I just wanted to play. But he promised me that second season is my season. Same shit. Even worse. So he destroyed, like Marconi had a great team. We didn't even, I think one year we made semi-finals and we lost. Carlton smashed us like 20-0. Oh yeah, even what's his name used to play with us, Archie Thompson. So we had a great team. But I'm telling you now, disharmony, total disharmony. It was either, his players and then nobody else.
That second season, 5 appearances off the bench.
Yeah, and that's it. Then what happened was, for some reason, I don't know what was the reason, Marconi was playing Red Star. And I was so looking forward to playing that game. And he told me I'm going to play with under 16s on Wednesday. I don't know, I'm injured. So when I turned up to training, he locked my locker. I wasn't even allowed to train with the first team.
Sounds like he knew that you were playing up.
So I know, but it was him. And then I called union on him because, he wouldn't train me anywhere. I was happy to finish the season with playing for JP. But
so JP was a coach of the reserve team?
Yes. And when I started training with him, he was told I'm not allowed to train there either. So I called union on him for, restricting me to do my trade. Now that same person, and then I thought he's going to stay there. I had a 3-year contract, and I thought he's going to stay again. But I got a call from Vlado Vanish, and he said, look, I've got a gig in China. You want to go play? You have to play for a few weeks, and then you can sign like 3 years, 2 years contract. So I called Marconi and they go, yeah, you can go, but we don't have, you have to break the contract and we're not paying you out.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, for sure, I'll go to China, make a lot of money. I didn't calculate that my wife, who's Chinese, didn't want to go and live in China. So I had to come back, and NSL pretty much disappeared. But that same coach, when he heard that I'm going to China, had a balls to call me to ask me to recommend him.
In China?
In China.
Yeah, like, hey, if they need a coach, get me in. My answer was, Eddie, I see you. I'll drive through her on the street in a car. I'll like, you destroyed me. Like, I hate it. Like, he made it hate, like, you know, okay, you didn't play me. You didn't play, I don't know, Vlado Zoric. Players like that would not, he would play constant. The team would lose, he would never change nothing. We would come to trainings, he didn't know what we're going to do. So we used to play Sheva half a training and sometimes just play video games. Like, it was very, with the players we had, he did absolutely nothing.
So now players go to China for the money.
Yeah.
Was there any difference back
No,
then?
same. No, I had a great setup. Like in a few weeks, I made a ton of money.
So how much money were they offering in China?
Well, I got 60,000 a month, and then you get, you know, bonuses to win. And
Are we talking yen, dollars?
no, US dollar, everything.
US dollars, 60,000
yeah.
US dollars.
Yeah, and that was me. I wasn't even. I was playing with what was the Brazilian captain in America? I think it was in American World Cup with his brother.
Dunga.
No, Dumba, the black. It was a black fella.
No.
I'll remember. He was there on like 150 grand a month. The guy had like a couple of soccer, how do you call it, centers in Brazil and whatnot. You know, he came from French. There was a lot of foreign players. There was a lot of money. Facilities, the ground's nice. The training grounds were better than some of the playing grounds at the time. But you were a star. In my hotel, I was like a king, you know, you're walking around, like everyone's pointing at you. When we went to, what's it called, McDonald's, they had to call the police to get us out. Like everyone wanted a signature. It's a lovely time.
Wow.
So you
I'm
went
never
from
going to
getting-
forget the money, my wife for bringing me back. Not so much for money, but more for the fame. You were like a
I was
movie
going to
star.
say, you went from NSL, not that great of money, to 60,000 US.
A month.
Actually, you know what? NSL was actually paying more and probably above what they could really afford. Like even Marconi was fantastic. Like, you know, I was in six figure at Marconi, you know, and the only thing what I did like about it compared to now, for example, players, you would have whatever you agreed on your sign-on money. But the winning bonuses were even for everyone. So you had to play to get that money.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? So you wanted to play. You played to win. This guy today signs whatever it is, 50,000 or 500,000. Plays or lose or win, he gets the same.
Yeah.
Why would he play?
Different types of contracts.
They can't get relegated.
There's no
They don't
incentive.
have to perform. They still get their pay. So why would that kid play?
So you said no to China.
I didn't want to. It was my wife.
So you must love your
me.
wife very much for
absolutely.
60,000 US
Still married.
a month.
Still married, yeah.
So can I just ask, when was China? What year was that?
That was 90. What was my second year at
You
Marconi?
finished in 2001 at Marconi, your second year.
Yeah, so then I went. 2001.
Halfway through.
No, when my third season supposed to start, so 2001, 2002, I left. I left there.
So winter of 01.
And I was there 6 weeks. Then I needed to sign a contract, which I didn't do. And then, and you know what I didn't understand? See, this is another thing, how I see that a lot of Australian players are just, how would you call that? You know, when you go there, yes, it's not all that, you know, but the players are treated fantastic.
Yeah.
I had everything I wanted. And they go, oh, you know, I was homesick because this looks poorer. It does, but you've got money. You can do whatever you want.
It doesn't affect you. Yeah.
At all. You're the king. So I don't know. I think a lot of Australian players are also very spoiled in terms of, in your country, Argentina, anywhere in the world, kids are playing to survive,
Yeah.
to make something. Here they're playing because they can.
Because it would be nice to be a player, not because it would help the whole family.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's another drive that changes. And I don't know. Look, I don't know what you guys think, but I don't think that this league, I don't understand what the idea was. Remember first we don't like ethnicities, whatever. They didn't want, you know, ethnic clubs. Then you get a club like Wanderers that brings every moffer under the sun to support it. The guys that normally would break each other's heads, supporting the team, and you dismantle the crowd. You don't want them now. So I don't understand what's the FFA trying to do.
So the whole
I think we skipped about 15 years.
Look, I think the whole argument was, yes, to take the ethnics away, the ethnic things away from the clubs,
Yep.
make it more Australian. I don't know to say Australian friendly, but more appealing to everyone.
They wanted to appeal to the mainstream. The problem, and to this day, the problem with the A-League from day one, to this day, it's been the same, and it's been prevalent. It's very clear to see for those that have been involved in it. We're trying to, or when I say we, as in A-League supporters, and the A-League itself, or the FFA, are trying to win non-football fans over. And I think that's what you're trying to refer to, is they're trying to draw in people that aren't actually football supporters, because the football supporters are always there, and that's your ethnic groups, because they grew up with football, as opposed to Australians, dinky die Aussies, who would support rugby league or Australian rules or union, who will look at it as wog ball, or that's just a wog
They still
sport.
call it like that, yeah.
Yeah, but that's who they were trying to appeal to.
Well, it still happens. I mean, for 3 or 4 years, the slogan for the A-League was, you've got to have a team, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
That's just targeting, like you said, those who are known football fans. And in doing that and placing those people and placing the sponsors that are coming in, I think in the last 3, 4, 5 years, they have lost the hardcore
The
football
actual
fans.
proper football fans.
Yeah,
So now
yeah,
you're stuck with people that don't come, didn't care, and you lost the ones that actually did care.
And I
And
guess,
there's
yeah.
plenty of them that would actually, keep coming to the games, and stadiums would be full.
And the whole idea was, and what the whole argument is, that the NSL were better in youth development. They were better in the football
Absolutely.
aspect. And
Absolutely.
the A-League is better when it comes to commercial aspects, to the running, the organisation of the league. It's a lot more professional
Debatable.
when it comes compared to the NSL. Look, I wasn't there in the NSL days. I came to the country in the late 90s, and I never really got into the NSL. I only got into the A-League when the Wanderers came, so I can't really argue from an experience point of view. But those who have been there and who've seen both say that that's what the A-League does, so that's what it's brought to the league. It's more professionalism. You were there for both, Harry.
But I would
think?
like to question this. You've seen, again, I've followed Wanderers, so I'll talk a little bit more about him. They didn't have a coach. They don't know what system they're going to play, but they're signing up players.
Yeah.
In the other league...
Look, that's running off clubs. I'm talking about the way the media's handled, the way that the stadiums...
Is
the
it better
stadiums
though,
are-
Johnny?
I don't know.
Because you
can I
look
just-
at this. Where was the last ad for soccer? And I'm not talking
No,
about
marketing.
during
Yeah, you're
COVID.
right. Marketing.
It's
No,
terrible.
I think what he's referring to, and I'll just touch on this point, where he was talking about in terms of a business sense or that sort of thing, the A-League is ahead of the NSL. But that's logical in a sense. Why? Because look who's heading the FFA, or who is behind it. You're talking about someone who's running a fucking international
Brand.
brand, an international, chain of fucking stores, of shopping centers.
But the reason
You're talking
why,
about
but the
Westfield.
reason why Frank Lowy got into power, and the argument that he had, my understanding, is because the NSL apparently was poorly run.
Well, that's fine. Look,
NSL, Soccer Australia, whatever you want to call it.
he comes from a commercial background, so it's like a duck to water. He should know how to do that. He should be good at that. There's no argument.
So why did we lose? If that area has improved, why did we lose the youth development or the actual football
Because
side?
they never started in the first place. I would believe that every club, if you want to have a club, you have to have a youth structure. When I was coming up back, Croatia or whatever, even in the second and third divisions, you had to have minimum 2 under-21s starting in your first 11. Now, it was your choice if you're going to put the kid in and then substitute him straight away and lose 2 substitutes, or you're actually going to create a youth player to come through. Fantastic for the young player. Now, as a young player, you want to play. You're going to try all you can to get to. And you know what? Mind you, second division was very strong over there. And it was more than semi-professional. People, you didn't have to work to play that football. And that was during Yugoslavia and then later on Croatia. Third division as well. We, like I said, a lot of clubs were run by gangsters or whatnot, but you didn't have to work. If you did, okay, we were training every day. Marconi, we trained every day. Melbourne Knights, 4 times I think we did. So that was the difference. I actually expected when I came to Marconi that it was going to be twice a day. But a lot of boys were still, working, studying, so they didn't. You couldn't really ask him to.
Was every player a full-time player?
Well, I was full-time player, but look, I think with Marconi, a lot of us got paid full-time wages, like as if that's all we do.
For part-time work?
Yeah, I mean, mind you, we trained every day,
Yeah.
100%.
How many
Like
hours are we
3
talking
seasons
about?
were forever.
How many?
Nah, but,
When you say
but
a day,
every day you had whatever 2-hour training, whatever it was. But the ones that didn't work, we would go and represent the club at doing different clinics or volunteer work. So you still kind of did things for the club. So it wasn't just that you did nothing. The great thing was if you wanted to train, you could go there and have your own training. Anthony Correa used to run gym classes with us, and so I mean, look, Marconi staff, they're all now in National League.
Yeah.
Sorry, in A League. So obviously that club was doing something right. So I don't think everything was bad. I mean, what Fadi was saying, you would expect when they put so many sponsors and TV. I mean, before the camera, I think they had one camera like that, like you do at home, and show it on TV. Like, looked really bad.
What was the dealing with journalism back then? Apart from SBS, was anyone else paying any attention at all to...
You know what? There was one... I can show you my articles. You would love it. But there was this guy in Melbourne. He loved it. Dautovic, I think was his name or something. I'm not sure if he's still writing. Maybe it is. Something. Anyway, there was this one. He absolutely adored football. Like
I'm talking about mainstream. So your big channels, your big players, your big newspapers.
I was playing in the Premier League, and I would show up in a I think it's Melbourne Herald or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So we did get a lot of recognition. I mean, I was playing in Premier League. I would go to a club, and bouncer used to sing Harry Takes It in the Ass, and I'm like, who's this? And then he goes, nah, come in, and as we were entering the club, in front of us was Trimbolier, and he complained to the bouncer. He goes, man, we're waiting here forever. Who the fuck is that? He goes, man, that's Harry Karl from St. Albans, He goes, who the fuck cares? I'm captain of Australia. He goes, who knows you? So, a lot of people, I don't know, a lot of people knew. They didn't write as much now, but what do they write now in the main media?
No.
FFA in itself doesn't protect when soccer gets attacked. And me getting... the other day I wanted to call Karl and Jackie and tell that boy round to shut the fuck up. They're saying that only soccer, only 30... Who cares if the soccer doesn't start? Only 30 people come to watch it. Really. But absolutely, I like the way the setup is, the stadiums
I'm sorry,
are better.
that's your problem. You listen to Colin Jackie.
I know, but that's the only thing.
That's when you're fucked.
fucking hell, Harry.
Anyways.
But look, there's a lot of benefits of it, absolutely. But I think the biggest mistake what they could have done when the league started, look, the club can't get promoted, but push the kids. If the kid is good, and that's I think problem in Australia with every sport. He's 17, he's not good enough, but then we're clapping when you see, I don't know, young Brazilian coming from somewhere and plays in Barcelona. Oh, look how good he is at 17. But you've got many 17-year-olds here and you don't give them a chance.
See, I think
because they're too young.
I think this is a point that you're referring to, and you touched on, Johnny, as well, and the disparity, or why the positive or the good aspects of the NSL didn't marry up or didn't get taken in and translated into, what is currently the A-League, or when the A-League first started. And
they had a chance to create all that, obviously you've got a business, yeah? For example, you start running a business, if you're a builder, you're going to build one house, you're not going to look to buy another, maybe another land so you can keep doing it? They never thought of what's going to come.
We're not privy to that sort of information, we're speculating, but what I would personally think, my opinion, Lowy came in obviously from a commercial aspect, and that's what they viewed it as. So, as Harry mentioned, the little part there when he said, the Wanderers signed a team without even having a coach or a playing style, for example. There was no youth setup. So they came in and they said, let's create these clubs, before the Wanderers, obviously. let's create these clubs and start. So they started running before they even walked. They took nothing from us. They said, NSL, pretty much fuck off. We don't want to deal with you. You're ethnic. Everything's wrong. We're doing something completely brand new. So they became disenfranchised. They completely cut them off and said, we don't want anything to do with you. We're going to do our own thing. So they said, fuck you, and continued with their own leagues. And the A-League went on its own. And I think the first 3, 4, 5 years, before the Wanderers came in, was a bit of a honeymoon period. You know, I signed Dwight York and Juninho and I don't know, whatever, all these names that people knew from watching on TV or watching the Premier League or whatever it was, started to die down. That's when they decided, fuck, we need to start adding teams. Wanderers came in. There was a honeymoon period there as well. It just seems that every time it starts to go down, they try to do something new to, you know, recreate that initial buzz or, you know, that euphoria or that interest around the league, which isn't going to be long lasting because eventually you're going to run out of things to do. Like now, MacArthur's coming in, then it's going to be fucking, I don't know what. You know, what else are they going to keep adding? But people are losing interest because now, like, how many, this A-League started in 2005, we're 15 years in. Now, 15 years later, they're saying, oh, let's talk about a second division. 15 years later? But isn't that fucking ridiculous?
But even with second division, how this club going to continue? Like, how do clubs make money? By selling the players, yeah?
Yeah.
So, but to be like within the A-League, they can't sell to each other, yeah? So the only way you've got a chance is to create a kid, bring him up, and then you sell him. Back the way, well, like Fadi always takes the piss out of me, during Yugoslavia time.
Yeah.
No player could leave the league till he was 28 or had, I don't know, a certain amount of games for Yugoslavia, or international games. Then you could go overseas. So that's why at that stage the league was strong. Our league was fantastic. Well, Yugoslavian league at the time was fantastic.
Are you speaking of when Red Star won the...
Yes.
League.
That was just
Early
when
90s.
they started. Yeah, 91 I think.
Yeah.
So that was just when they started kind of, you know, slowly dying up and relaxing the rules a little bit.
Yeah.
But prior to that, I mean, you couldn't. So every young player had to stay. But the schools were constant. You know, and even now, you look, how many new players or washed up players can they bring back? You've got this, the biggest participation sport, yeah, in Australia is soccer.
Yeah.
Where are those kids? Where are they going to go? You use them to take the money. I don't know what they do with it. That's another argument. But this kid now comes, what's the youngest age group that, I don't know, for example, in the A-League they have 16, 13?
In the youth system, 13, says a 13.
All right.
Yeah.
But where do those kids come? I mean, how many, like, honestly, I thought that's going to be a brilliant chance. Okay, you wiped it all off, forget about, NSL, start new. They could have picked up so many kids, young kids from NSL to start originally the clubs.
Yeah.
A lot of them could have been resold and club actually making some money from their product. But continue to, you need to have, every club should be affiliated with, I don't know, someone. Wanderers maybe with Marconi. So every youth, we've got a first choice to a kid, take him there. I'm not sure if they do it because, you know what, let me tell you. I would watch Wanderers, but I cannot. Even during NSL days, what I never understood, I remember this generation Marconi kids, they were under 11. When undefeated, the whole season, undefeated, they were pumping other teams like 10-0, 11-0, 15-0. How does that generation need to trial out for under 12? No, they're champions. I'm not letting anyone go. You know, but now, they have to trial now. When I play for kids, you get selected. The only time team gets changed is if another better player comes in, or you trial him, or they purchase him from somewhere else, or you moving the club. Then they change. So they you know, I mean, look, they were always scouting for new players. But the thing is, they don't, not every year I had to bloody trial.
Look, we can talk about all that. We can talk about salary cap. We can talk about transfers. Let me ask you this, though. The fans. So NSL, obviously you mentioned they're loyal. It's a generation thing. You feel like you belong to a club. Now with the A-League, I think, like you said, Victory and Wanderers are the two clubs that maybe some fans feel like they belong to. But when you introduce clubs like Macarthur with no history, Western United with no history, it's a bit hard. Let me ask you this about the fans in the NSL days. What were the numbers like? What was the crowds like? What was the atmosphere like? You've been to the A-League, you've played in the NSL. Comparing both.
Even when I played back in the day, even Premier League, we used to get 5,000-6,000 people. That's more than some A-League clubs are getting now.
Yeah.
All right, and they would sing, they would chant, especially, I played for Croatian clubs, so if we played a Serbian, that was a war.
Yeah.
We lived for that game. Yes, it was dangerous, and police just used to block off. Like if we played in Springville, they would just block it off. Whatever happens, just don't let anyone out, and do your thing. And when you played away game, it really felt like an away game. Doesn't matter if you played Bullying Zebras or whatever. Those Italians would, everyone was spitting at you, and it was a proper football. NSL, my first game was against for Melbourne Knights against Northern Spirit. That's how actually I got named Harry Karl, because that's my real name. Because pronouncer.
Hang on. So which one's not real? The surname or the first name?
No, the first name. The surname is real.
Identity crisis.
Pronouncer couldn't say Hrvoje, so he was going.
Say your name again.
Hrvoje, yeah.
Okay.
So the pronouncer was jubbling something. Harry Karl. And that's how I stayed Harry Karl. But I scored my first goal, and I played actually.
Sorry, we learned something new today.
Yeah,
I learned a lot of new things today.
An announcer named him his Aussie name.
Yeah, I thought it sounded really sexy like an actor, and I left it there. But and I played, the first game was against played for them, but he's now on TV, and he loves Sydney FC. What's his name? Robbie Slater.
Yeah, of course.
One of the tackles, first tackles, he was going hard, and I went hard. I didn't pull my legs out, so I cleaned him up. You know what he said? You know who I am? Mind you, back then when I was still in Croatia, English clubs were banned from European football, so I didn't follow English league. I had no idea who the fuck he was.
He had won the Premier League with
Blackburn.
Yeah. And I was like, no. He was upset.
Chip on his shoulder. He still does.
He did. But guess what? And I scored a goal. I was so excited. It was first goal. And but see, Northern Spirit, new club at the time. But they were so clever. They were playing Friday nights. Their stadium was full. Man, they were singing like, I don't know, Sydney FC would love to have that crowd. It was Friday night games, full oval. And bro, they used to give it to us. And I was called my first, they were booing me, calling me a wog. And, I used to love provoking, so I would stay up front and hitting the Croatian, thing. I get booed, but you know what? You felt like it was a game. Perth, fantastic crowd. It was amazing, When I played for Melbourne Knights, in one of the articles, apparently, I used to bleach my hair in like colour and whatnot. Apparently,
when you had hair, yeah.
Yeah. Before marriage, when you come back from China, you see what you missed, you lose your hair. And then, apparently they wanted to bleach their hair, it was, and they were traveling,
So you're saying the A-League doesn't have anything to...
No,
sorry,
it does.
The NSL doesn't have anything to envy from the A-League fans?
No, for long periods of time, no. Till, again, started getting over-policed. And then, when I think NSL started losing the crowds a little bit, when, I don't know, Melbourne, Croatia had to change and it became Melbourne Knights, a lot of guys are saying, fuck it, who are Knights? Sydney United became Sydney United instead of Sydney, Croatia. People say, fuck that. Marconi Stallions couldn't have green, the Italian flag on. You lost a lot of crowd. And I think that's where they lost the crowds. Before that, the stadiums were full.
Yeah.
It comes back to that point about identity as well when you talk about A-League. Belonging. People felt that they had something that they owned or something that they were a part of. Now, when you start to dismember that or take it apart slowly, that's when people start to become disenfranchised and think, this isn't for me anymore.
Every club in the world, there's something. You've got two clubs in Milan. One associates with themselves to a poorer crowd. The other one is aristocracy. Yeah? Madrid as well, and that's what we had here, Melbourne Wanderers in Sydney. And on top of that, you had a pure Australia in here. I mean, everyone, and they destroyed it.
Yeah.
Is it really, maybe this is my question, does Australia understand football? Because you cannot, like, I love State of Origin, that's the only football I watch, and now that Parramatta's winning, I'm watching again. but they are like proper New South Welshmen, you know, only when we're winning. However, even then, you're playing, like my brother came from overseas and I took him to a State of Origin. And, you know, he goes, what kind of hatred is this? And, oh, you know, it's like, I don't know, Dynamo Hajduk. So we came to sit down and like there's a guy in Queensland top next to me. He goes, when do I do him? Like, why is he sitting here? You know, when do I do him? Like, come on our side. That's a provocation.
Yeah.
You have to belong somewhere.
It's a different culture.
But you know yourself in Argentina, sometimes you rather opponent lose than you win, just so you can give him the shit. It's not all just about fighting, but it's about that prestige. You have something. Western Sydney, we associated ourselves, I mean, the Sydney FC was calling this crowd poor and junkies and all blooders and whatnot. We know it's not like that, but we accepted it. We didn't care. And that was the rivalry. I think they destroyed all there's nothing. What, and now creating Makata, what, they're going to have Western Sydney derby? With how many people? 3?
Yeah, probably. Probably.
They're forcing...
An outer west derby.
Yeah, they're forcing things to happen and they just can't. Like another thing, like, was it wise to put like Central Coast? Fantastic setup. If that was anywhere in South America, a small town having a club like that, or you can look in England.
With no other sports around it.
But that would be packed.
Yeah.
Here they hardly get anyone. The poor bastard can't survive. Everything is there, and they're claiming, oh, there's only, I don't know, 50,000 of us. Good, all 50,000 on the stadium. That would be a major fun. But nobody, because you know what, they didn't want that thing in the first place. It was pushed on them. Here, you have to have a club because, I don't know, that's how it goes. Makata, like, why is that put to even take a little bit of the people from the maybe now watching Sydney, Western Sydney, to go away?
Yeah, he's splitting the market over and over again.
I don't understand.
Look, we can be, like I said, we can be here all day discussing these matters, but I want to finish off with 3 quick questions for you, Harry. Off the top of your head, best player you've played with?
With?
Yeah.
Oh, look, I'll put 2. Thompson, definitely.
Archie Thompson?
Yeah, and Zoric. Fantastic player.
So Archie Thompson and Zoric. Cool. Best player you've played against?
Oh, I played Boxic, Chukas, Timat. I played against, you know, them. And here, you know what, I'm a little bit like idiotic. I actually don't even know any of the players' names. I never really cared for that. You know, I never watched. I would play my game, do my training, and then I would never watch local games.
And then be like, oh, Harry, you hammered, what's his name? I don't even know who that is.
But that's the thing, they used to, like on the interview, they go, oh, you know, you're playing against this defender, what do you think of him? I didn't know who he was till they told me how he looks.
So best player you played against, probably Alex Tobin's elbow.
Well,
Most notable
you know,
player, let's
there
call
was
it that.
another player that I actually get to know later on, and he was playing at the time for Gippsland. And he was one of the toughest defenders I ever played against. Let me tell you, that guy was like a brick wall. Claudio Canossa.
Yeah, Argentinian.
Oh man, that guy. And do you know how you sledge each other? And I used to like swear his mom and dad, and he gets to me, mate, you can do that all day long, but tell me something after the game. But he goes, but tell me something against Maradona, I'm going to kill you. Now that's a love for football, no? Where do you get that here?
Last thing, do you have any... You spoke about your discipline off the field. Do you have any party stories? Did you ever go to training or games drunk or anything?
The game that I scored 2 goals against Melbourne Knights was played on the 2nd of January. So I was told that there'll be a good party at Marconi for New Year, so I went there, you know. It wasn't a good party, so I had to spice it up. And I used ecstasy, you know. And I couldn't sleep. The training was on the 1st. So to go to training, I had to double it up. So I was chasing the dragon.
You condone the use of drugs, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that
Kids
was
don't take drugs.
Yeah.
And yeah, so pretty much even before the game, I pumped couple. So if I had to piss that game, because on the video of my goal, you see when I scored my second one, like I ran the whole bloody lap. And like Eddie came to give me a hand, and I'd like, you know, and then you move, and I just kept running around like a mad person. Look, the problem with telling the stories, I would implicate too many people. A lot of them are now married, maybe old. They were, you know, prostitutes in the hotels, initiation performances that you had to do not like singing in a team. They were, oh man, we had some great times. Yeah, it was look, I would recommend soccer to everyone, but just don't be undisciplined, play it properly. I think that's where the biggest thing, you know, where I kind of started hating it. I know that's not a question, when the money started getting involved, and that's where people start going, oh, he's playing, getting paid more than me, but he's shit.
Yeah.
You know, when
when
that
it became too much business.
And jealousy and you know what, like that's where I wish that I never got paid.
Yeah.
I tell you what, then I had the best time. And honestly, some of my best time, definitely some times, the team, camaraderie and players I played with too, and they played for love. I was shocked that mentality at a lot of clubs, they would lose. Like when I played for Melbourne Knights, we would lose, nobody's fucking upset. I want to, they shake, or now the players in A-League, they lose a derby and he shakes the opponent's hand. I would bite his head off. I apologize next day. But that day, there's no shaking, no hands. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's happening. But yeah, I'm worried about if we're going to have any football to watch, local ones.
Any last questions, Fatty?
Do you think that anything will change moving forward? Based on what you've seen and behind the scenes?
In 30 seconds, give me your answer.
I don't think it will. Till they start producing younger generations, like you need to have that, you know, like any, you know, when you work in a factory, there has to be a production line, that something's coming up.
Yeah.
No club produce no one. We're living off either recycling or bringing someone hoping that it's going to be good and people are going to come and watch them. I feel sorry for the football.
On that note, thank you, Fatty. Thank you, Harry. Any last words?
No, I just hope you can use something of whatever we talked.
It's definitely not G-rated. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Johnny.